Hello, it's Lynn Watts here with Wyatt the Wonder Dog Books, and today I'm going to talk about resilience. So, resilience has become quite a buzzword, I think, in the last, several years. But it's a very, very important trait that we want to teach children. And it really just basically means the ability to bounce back whenever you experience a setback or when there's hardship, having some coping skills in order to do that. So it covers really a lot of ground. And it's a very general kind of term, but it means an awful lot in terms of what we need to help children with. So let's just begin by identifying some of the benefits of resilience, of having this bounce back ability, this I can do it sort of attitude. One is that it helps children cope with change and with uncertainty effectively. And that's certainly something that everyone is going to come up against at some point in their lives. So it helps children understand that change and challenges are part of life and learn coping skills. Along those lines, it means that they develop strong problem solving skills and also strong decision making skills, which is very important. So they are not just relying on others, maybe the adults in their lives, to make all decisions, but that they learn how to make good decisions themselves. Another benefit is that it does build positive relationships with others. When you're resilient, it's easier to develop relationships with peers and with adults. It can improve academic performance because, learning new things in school can be one of those challenges. And so it helps children see the need for that and not feel like life has to be easy. It can reduce anxiety and frustration, again, because it normalizes the change, the challenges that we all face. And so there's less frustration when you feel like that's just part of life. And finally, it helps children grow into independent and emotionally healthy individuals. So, what are some of the key factors in developing resilience? The first one is just to know that it's not part of a child's personality. They're not just naturally resilient. It's something that we learn, and we learn it from the adults around us. So this is good news. This means that as parents and educators, that we can be role models, and we can also teach them specific skills that will help them be resilient. Children who develop resilience most often have relationships that are characterized by boundaries, very important word. I've done another video on boundaries, consistency, and support. So there was actually a study done a while back on children who came out of families where there was a lot of problems. There was mental health issues, there were addiction issues, and they followed these children to see which ones developed resilience. And what they found was that one of the things that really made a big difference was the children that had at least one adult somewhere in their life that provided that kind of support. That really made a big difference. So this is another reason why we all need to think about being that role model for children. It is certainly true that children who are resilient are not necessarily children who have easy, fun-loving lives where everything goes their way. In fact, children that have a life where there are not very many challenges often are not very resilient. And the reason being that they have not learned any skills because they haven't faced many challenges. Things have just been easy. So children who have hardships, who come up against challenges of all kinds, can become very resilient, and that can be an important part of it. So let's talk about some of the ways that we can encourage resilience in children. And the first one is simply to normalize struggle. So in other words, not protect children from struggle and from challenges, but rather normalize that it is part of life, that we all struggle. We all have things that are very hard. And yet we all can come through it and we can do hard things. So that honestly can become a very important mantra that you might teach a child, is that they can do hard things. So normalizing struggle is the first thing. The second is to teach positive self-talk. And we can teach this very directly as a counselor by talking to a child about, what are they thinking? What do they kind of say to themselves in their mind, and kind of changing their perception. We can also do it by modeling it and by explaining, our own self-talk and how we handle challenges through self-talk. So some of the things that we can teach are just very simple statements like, I can try again when they fail. Mistakes help me learn. And this is hard, but I can do hard things. So self-talk can be very important. As much as possible, providing a safe and supportive environment. That doesn't mean a stress-free environment. It simply means a supportive environment, one that supports children even when they're frustrated and even when they're stressed. So this does mean an environment where they are allowed to talk about feelings, recognize feelings, and then process that to the point that they can then develop some problem-solving skills around the challenge that they're facing. Role plays and problem-solving scenarios are often a really great way to develop resilience, to normalize struggle, to talk about many different everyday kind of problems that children face, and then help them develop ways to handle those. If you look in either one of my lesson plan book for school counselors, I have several pages of different problem solving scenarios that you can easily use for role play or simply just talking with children about them, having them partner up and solve problems. There are lots of different ways that you can use those sort of things, but just helping them talk through problems and talking through them before they happen. So in a way, that is also normalizing the struggle. It's saying you might come up against this situation here. What would you do? And so you're helping them plan ahead for how to handle things. Probably the final way is that I think as educators, if we can involve families in helping them understand the importance of helping their children develop resilience and teaching problem solving skills. So that can certainly reinforce, or you could look at it the other way around, that in schools, hopefully we're reinforcing what families are already teaching children as well. But certainly families may come in and identify problems that they are facing as parents, as families, anything from, losing a job to having to move somewhere, or all of the kind of adult things that we face. And if adults come in and talk to you about that because they're concerned about children, then you can identify that as a way that can actually help children develop resilience. And here's how we can do this together as a team. So involving families as much as possible, I think, is certainly a good move as well. So that is all about resilience and how to help children develop resilience. And as always, thanks so much for all you do for young children, and thanks for listening.